The ballroom glittered under crystal chandeliers as the city's most powerful gathered for the annual charity gala. Cameras flashed, champagne flowed, and whispers of wealth filled the air. At the center stood billionaire Adrian Cross, confident and smiling, unaware that the night was about to change his life forever. Adrian had built an empire from nothing, tech mogul, philanthropist, media favorite. Tonight, he was donating millions to children's hospitals, shaking hands and charming investors. His tailored suit hid exhaustion, sleepless nights, and a pain in his chest he had ignored for weeks. Across the room, Lena moved quietly between tables, balancing trays with practiced ease. She was just another waitress to the guests. Black uniform, hair neatly tied, eyes lowered. No one knew she worked 2 jobs, sent money home, and carried memories she rarely allowed to surface. As Adrian raised his glass to speak, his vision blurred. The applause faded into a dull echo. His fingers trembled, the glass slipped, shattering against the marble floor. A collective gasp filled the room as the billionaire swayed, then collapsed. For a moment, no one moved. Guests froze, unsure whether to help or step back. Security rushed forward, voices overlapping in panic. Someone shouted for a doctor, another demanded an ambulance. Expensive shoes edged away, fear replacing admiration. Lena dropped her tray. She didn't hesitate. She ran to Adrian's side, kneeling on the cold floor. Ignoring the stares, she checked his breathing, his pulse. Her hands were steady, her expression focused. This was not fear in her eyes. It was recognition. "Clear some space!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. A man in a tuxedo protested, "She's just a waitress!" But Lena was already loosening Adrian's collar, positioning him carefully. She pressed 2 fingers against his neck again, counting silently, her jaw tightening. "He's having a cardiac episode," she said firmly. "Someone call emergency services now, not later. Now!" Something in her tone made people listen. Lena began CPR with practiced precision. The room fell silent except for her counting and the frantic sirens growing closer outside. Each compression was deliberate, controlled, fueled by something deeper than training. As she worked, flashes of the past surged through her mind. A hospital corridor, harsh fluorescent lights, a man who looked just like Adrian lying unconscious. Her father, years ago, too late help, too many bystanders. Not this time. Adrian coughed suddenly, his body jerking. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Lena didn't stop until she was sure, until his breathing steadied, until his pulse strengthened. Only then did she lean back, breathless, hands trembling. Paramedics rushed in moments later, taking over. As they lifted Adrian onto the stretcher, his eyes fluttered open briefly, confused, weak. Then they landed on Lena's face. Recognition flickered. "Lena," he whispered hoarsely. Her breath caught. She hadn't expected that. The doors closed behind the ambulance, leaving the ballroom stunned. Conversations buzzed with disbelief. Who was the waitress? How did she know what to do? Why did the billionaire know her name? Hours later, Adrian woke in a private hospital room. Machines beeped softly. Doctors spoke of minutes, how close he had come. One doctor shook his head. If she hadn't acted when she did, he wouldn't be here. Adrian asked only one question. "Where is she?" Lena was called in reluctantly, still wearing her uniform. She stood by the door, unsure, uncomfortable under the weight of his gaze. Adrian studied her face, older, stronger, but unmistakable. "You saved my life," he said quietly. "You saved mine first," she replied. The truth spilled out between them. Years ago, when Lena's father collapsed in a factory accident, Adrian, then a young executive, had rushed to help, calling emergency services, staying until help arrived. He never knew the man died later that night. Lena never forgot his kindness. That moment inspired her. She became a certified emergency responder while working endless jobs. Life pulled her far from dreams of medical school, but the training stayed with her. Waiting tables paid the bills. Saving lives fed her soul. News broke the next day. Headlines exploded. Waitress saves billionaire at Gala. Videos went viral. Interviews followed. Lena avoided them all. She returned to work quietly, hoping the world would move on. It didn't. A week later, Adrian requested a press conference. Cameras clicked as Lena stood beside him, nervous but proud. He spoke honestly, about mortality, about overlooked heroes, about the woman who reminded him that greatness often wears no title. He announced a foundation in her father's name, funding medical training for low-income workers. Then he turned to Lena. "And I want you to lead it." Tears filled her eyes. Not because of the offer, but because her father's death would now save others. Months passed. Lena no longer wore a waitress uniform. She wore scrubs, then a blazer, then confidence. Adrian recovered fully, but he was changed, slower, kinder, more present. At the next gala, there were no chandeliers brighter than Lena's smile. And this time, when the billionaire raised his glass, he made sure the woman who saved him stood in the spotlight, exactly where she belonged.